to live. And never have to die again. Unless, of course, you wish to witness that experience again. But the records are long. We're waiting. You have heard of a place called Shamballa? There is a beautiful cathedral there. It's the great Ascension Cathedral. And you might be surprised to hear this, but that cathedral, it is Archangel Michael's, and his legions look after it. So we love Archangel Michael because, not only because of who he is and what he is, because he's so much more than has even ever been presented to you. That cathedral, Archangel Michael's Cathedral. Are you ready for this? It's in Shambhala. Do you know how big a city the city of Mexico is? You have an idea? It's vast. Archangel Michael's Cathedral in Shambhala is larger than Mexico City. And in that cathedral are the great Ascension scrolls. And all the decisions made by the mighty Sanat Kumara from 70,000 years ago, all the tests and trials of the people of earth who responded to his light, the peoples of earth over the last 10, 20,000 years who were tested. Who could lead the seventh golden age? Who will be the first to awaken, the next wave to awaken? Who will be the strongest enough to accomplish what was begun by Jesus the Christ, allowing God to appear as individual being? All these causes had to be determined, and out of that, in Michael's Ascension Cathedral are the Book of Names. Now you might understand why the cathedral is so big, because every one of you have your own book. And these books are vast. Magical powers are used to turn the pages because the pages are so big. And you'd see your book of life, if you had a chance to read it, a magical being took you to the last page, you'd see the last page was filled in. And then you would see a name written across with a line underneath it. And that means that when that name was written across, that your days of living the tree of knowledge of good and evil were numbered. You had been tested, you had been tried, and your name, your book of life, was signed by an ascended master who, until your own ascension, would become your ascended master's sponsor. Now, that happened for all of you somewhere since the time of the ascension of Saint Germain. It was the culmination of all of his ages that brought forth what had been worked upon by Michael's ages, the collection of the data of all people of earth who had been tested and tried and initiated, all that information gathered. And then upon Germain's ascension, all this information given to the higher mental bodies of those peoples the higher mental bodies communicating with the ascended host, all picking ascended masters, those ascended masters coming in and signing off your lives that you had lived. Now, whether that happened 35 years ago, 135 years ago, or 235 years ago, makes no difference. Right beside this book of life, that is your book of life, and all of you have your book there. This is not a book that you would see on a sacred temple that a high priest might show you. Your book of life would take a stage 10 times this size. And that's why I said there are magical beings who would come and turn the pages, and you would stand back and you would read and read and read. Now in this, once you're finished, if you had the opportunity to see this, you would then be taken to your new room. This new room is the same size. It holds a mighty book. It's your future book of life. It's the book of life you have been living since the moment you were anointed an ascended master sponsor to watch over you, to ensure that from the moment your name was registered in the Ascension scrolls. Now, when did Jermaine gain his freedom? When's the year? Very good. So that you know that basically it happened. So, about 41 years passed after Ascension. That takes you around 1725. That all that Jermaine demanded, all that had been gathered, be put together. The higher mental bodies of 10 million people that had passed initiations went to the Ascended Master realms. So, whether your book of life was signed off by an Ascended Master sponsor 200 years ago or 100 years ago, okay? Doesn't make any difference. If you could see this room, if you could see your room of your Ascension scroll, you would then be, now the first scroll is the life you have lived, the etheric records cleansed for the most part, and then the preparation to bring you into this time on earth. So then you'd be taken to an adjacent room, as big a room, and you would see the most magnificent book, but it's closed. It's jeweled. It's magnificent. And your full spiritual names upon the cover of this book. It is sealed in the diamond cross. And if the magical being was to open the book to the first page, you would be rather surprised, and you would look at the being who is guiding you through this place, because you will see there is nothing yet written in your new book of life. Because everything that you have lived in your last embodiment at the most, and this embodiment, has been that which is to prepare you for your second birth. And I'm not talking about being born again. I'm not talking about religion here. When you came to the earth 15 million years ago, you were the magnificent I Am race. Fully sentient beings. You were the I Am presence on earth. And even with all the powers and brilliance you had, but on this earth plane, forced into a third dimensional octave, you had to administer the laws of the atom. You had to prove the laws of the atom. You had to master the laws of the atom. Master the laws of self in substance and form. And once all of this is in place, this would be 2 million years. In the 3rd million, you would master opening the way for your I Am present self to come forth in the magnificent garment you took 2 billion years to present, to prepare for it. That was the original divine plan. That was you, the I Am presence on earth. The I Am presence, a white fire being from the heart of creation. A spiritual being with no physical reality. An electronic reality. A spiritual reality, but no physical reality. To participate in the physical universe with others, you require a physical garment. You were the individualized beingness of infinite I Am, come to the earth to learn of physical manifestation, substance, laws of matter, laws of form, laws of the atom, that one day you could master laws of the electron, the original divine plan. What we are doing now is we are well on our way to giving birth again to this I that each of you were, that appeared upon this planet 15 million years ago. Yet, now you have a rich history. And with the history that you have, as the I Am emerges through each of you, God is glorified. Not to glorify the human, to glorify God. As the Christ emerges, all that is the nature of divine consciousness becomes the nature that each and every one of you expresses in your lives. This becomes a course of action. This is what I meant when I said Christ 101, Christ 2.4. You are now really God's in power. And you best be careful how you use that white lightning that blazes out of your hand. You want to turn lights on, not turn lights off with that white lightning. You understand what I mean? So there's practice, because you have so much practice with imperfection. And becoming beings with perfect powers expressing through you, there is a very short, and it is a short period of time, that you have to master using those powers upon the atom, upon substance, upon form. Christ beings do not take a 2-year course in alchemy. Christ's beings, alchemy is part of their being. You take this class for different reasons, and that's just to get your consciousness ready and susceptible. Wouldn't it be wonderful, precious hearts, if you decreed, if you owned that you were only susceptible to the incoming Christ being that is emerging within each of you? I am not susceptible to anything in this world. But you see, precious hearts, you cannot do the study, you cannot do the talk without the effort. And that is what I have been preparing you for with 1.5 years. The effort of the practitioner's treatment. With one mighty, outstanding truth that waits to be enjoyed, waits to be experienced by each of you. That truth being a truth that ought to thrill you, a truth that makes your faith remarkable, a truth that compels you to keep casting your rod, a truth that says to you, personal and direct contact with God is available, is possible in the silence of the moment. Wow. So then you require an education, another education. Well, what kind of silence? Are you talking about meditation? Well, what kind of meditation? Is it an inner journey? Is it a qualified journey? Oh, it is the most extraordinary of extraordinaries. It is a journey that you must teach yourself or have someone teach you how to prepare yourself of going in, silencing the mind, stilling yourself, and there's nothing in you that would dare ask God for anything, because you have already taken the position. Whether it is your experience does not matter. You have taken the position. God is my supply. God is my health. God is my friends. God is my employment. God is my opportunities. And on and on and on. So when I go in, I don't go in. This is not like Christian prayers. This is not like decreeing to the presence. No. God, I am, God is. And God is already these things. And you must be so awakened now to the realization that there has been a silent ignorance acting within your compromised human consciousness. Now that's okay. That's not a judgment. That's an isness. Because if you hear it right, you will say to yourself, my goodness, I never thought of it that way. And that silent ignorance that acts itself out, but it's only ignorance the moment you realize it, and then you suspend it because you realize what an ignorant thing to do. Who am I who am I to show up and tell God what to do? Do you think God is not all-knowing? What am I suggesting? That God is not on the job? If I have to pray or decree to God for my money, for my supply, for my health, what am I saying? That God's not on the job? That God's not doing what God is supposed to be doing? God is. So you see, precious hearts, I made it clear last summer. I'll always be honest with you. And I said to you last summer, if all you're interested in becoming a healer, then time out for you. You're partially awakened. Go take some healing courses and go do what your heart guides you to. But I have to tell you, it's a trap. It's a trap. And sometimes it takes 2 to 3 lifetimes for a soul to be able to look back and realize, my God, I was on the mountain to God, and on the way up, because of things going on in my world, I got fascinated in psychics, I got fascinated in mediums, and I got fascinated with healers. And then my own human let me convince myself that I wanted to be one of those. And as soon as you succumb to that, your human knew it had stopped your spiritual growth. And your human was celebrating. So I have to always tell you the truth, but I have to tell you the truth afterwards. I have to tell you the truth of what's the human up to. Does the human see one last opportunity to stop you? Because, precious hearts, if you don't think your human aspect of yourself would like to stop your spiritual growth, think again. It will do everything to stop your spiritual growth now. To make you feel overwhelmed. To make you feel this isn't for you. Precious hearts, the truth is this is for everyone. There's only one choice left. And that's whether you'll delay it another 10 years, 30 years, at the most you could delay it, one more lifetime. And after that, there's no more choice. None. You either leave this I am race, go to another school, but you're out of choices. So when you think about that, when you think about that timeline, and 15 million years behind you here, you can see how tight a window it is, isn't it? So, precious hearts, this is a magnificent time. And a time that is intended that you will have every support. But there's a couple things you have to put in place. You gotta have faith that is remarkable. Yes, you turn to the world to correct this and to correct that. Yes, you go out to doctors and you do things here and you do what you have to do in the world. But all of it now that's down the road. None of those things. For you, fulfilling my destiny is number one. Number one. So where are you? Before we go to break, where are you, precious hearts? Because messenger number one receives emails from students. And some students are just talking about the miracles and miracles and miracles that are happening in their lives because of the 3-4 times a day that they go into the practitioner's treatment for 15-20 minutes a day, and for them it's not a choice. Everything else must wait. And because everything else must wait, and because they're going into the practitioner's treatment to get God first, everything else in their life is automatically, somehow invisibly, becoming amazingly beautiful. Go figure, as the son would say. So where are you in that? And you won't all be the same. But let me provide you something. Let me tell you the truth. If you feel some pressure in your life, the pressure won't let up until you decide that the only pressure on your life will be the pressure that comes from God, from angels, from ascended beings. And when that's first, everything else starts to fall into place. Everything else is added to you, not because you looked for them, but because you made right with yourself. I thank you, precious hearts, for allowing me to have this conversation with you. I feel it is an important one. I feel we've covered some things we've spoken into before. I feel we've placed some emphasis in areas that required some emphasis. Life's not really asking you to really go home and think about it. Gee, I've got a decision on my hands. Life's asking you to realize you already made the decision. Catch up. Life's asking you to catch up with yourself. And it starts with those simple, wonderful things. I say yes to life. And I love Jesus' idea about do your best. Do your best and let your faith be remarkable. Oh my goodness. That's enough to set me skipping and whistling on a sunny day. God bless you. I thank you. I am Akasha. It is your break time.